Greetings, everyone. Welcome to WTF Walk the Floors, where we discuss all things hospitality training. I'm Michele Kline with Kline Hospitality, and I'm here with my co-hostess, Stephanie Leger with First Rate Hospitality. Stephanie, how are you today?
Great, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. I almost said instead of training, service, and it was like, what is going on in my brain? How are you?
Oh, I know. We have so much up here that we want to be able to communicate and then get all of our words all mumbo jumbo.
Right? And things we want to organize. We want to make sure things are organized. The operation in our brain should be organized, which leads me to what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so let's talk about lost and found. And we've already touched upon it in other episodes, but we're going to really talking about, from a guest point of view. And then also too, if you're having either your front desk or housekeeping or security, that's the department that gets the fun job of being the gatekeeper to lost and found, but then making sure is that the right solution, because sometimes it's just like, oh, we're just going to pass the buck, and then you're looking at it from the guest point of view, and now they've basically talked to everyone in the hotel and no one seems to be able to give them an answer. Have you been there, done
Yes.
that?
Yes, and yes. So it's a big pet peeve of mine, interdepartmental communication. And here's the thing, when you have out of several departments that touch the process of lost and found, but only one department really takes it seriously, typically
Mhm.
housekeeping, and they
Mhm.
take it seriously because they have to, right? Because it's very easy to connect. I left something in my room, housekeeping is now responsible for it. It's very difficult to swallow when you are a guest, and it absolutely kills the guest experience. When you are going on the phone, you got back home, you realized you left something behind, but you don't quite know where you left it. Did you leave it at the spa, the pool, in the room, in the lobby, whatever the case may be? It's nerve-wracking when you are being moved from department to department on the phone, right? So that's
Yep.
definitely a WTF moment. And why is it a WTF moment where we should be walking the floors when there is a disconnect between the processes of every department individually? And then how do you connect the dots? If something was left in a public space, which will probably turn up in front desk, and the same situation happens in housekeeping, and then you have security who may have been responsible for gathering something from someone, or whatever the case may be, how do you connect the dots between the departments so that you
Yes.
don't create or kill this memorable experience? Because now I lost something that was valuable to me, and I'm on the phone with 500 people before someone can tell me where my item may be.
Yep. Yeah, because with the different departments, you're right. It's like, oh, well, if it was public area, it's probably with the front desk. If it was left in the safe, say like your passports or money or something of value, then it's probably with security. And then if it was something that was just left in the room, say on the bed or in the bathroom, oh, then it's probably with housekeeping, and now you're giving that guest the runaround, what you even said too, Michelle, with that guest experience. And then also too, these departments, front desk is dealing with check-ins and checkouts, and then also too, security is doing their walks, and housekeeping, is up on the floors and they have their coordinator. But what's the best solution for your hotel and your property? And every property's different, but just making sure that everyone's on that same page, so then if they happen to go to that restaurant server and saying, oh, I think I left something by the pool, then everyone knows the procedure when they hear that from the guests, what the steps are.
Absolutely. So creating one process within the department is critical. right?
Mhm.
But then creating one mother process that speaks to, this is what happens in this department, this department, this department, this is how we're going to connect the dots. And at the end of the day, this is where the item lands in X amount of days, right? The other thing is, when you get that call in your department about lost and found because it's being transferred from someone, let's say you get to PBX first, or you get to your operator first, the call gets to the operator. This guest is going to explain the whole story of, I had this and it's so special to me, and I think I left it in the room, but I'm not sure because I also had it at the pool, right? So
And
now
it's
you
white.
transfer. So what happens when we're not walking the floors and you transfer that call from PBX or operator to front desk or the next department down? What's typically what happens, Stephanie? You get on the phone with the next person and
Yeah, and then you're now playing telephone, literally,
you're
on
explaining
passing it.
yourself all over again,
Yeah,
right?
or
And then you
leaving a
forget.
message.
It must be in housekeeping. So now they're transferring the call to housekeeping. And instead of that team member taking the time to explain what this guest is looking for and the entire story, the guest is found explaining the whole story for a second time,
Yeah,
right? And then they transfer you to security. So at what point do we recover this guest? If you have to explain yourself 3 times, that's beyond recovery.
yeah, yeah, and I've definitely even, have had the moments when I'm picking up the call, when I was working with the hotels, and then they're like, "I've been waiting for a response for the last week," and then, of course, they got transferred to a voicemail that no one checks, and it's, goes into the dark hole that we all know exists, being working in the hotels. But yeah, so now you're the one taking the ownership, because that's what we're taught in hospitality. But then at the same time, you're delaying the guests, for knowing, maybe they lost it at the airport, not even at the hotel, maybe it's at a different place, but now it's just, the ring around the whole hotel.
It's crazy. And it's something so
Yeah.
simple to fix, right?
Yeah.
The biggest problem is when we don't know it's happening.
Yeah.
So you have that
Exactly.
one guest that is actually going to voice their concern or their opinion. You don't know it's happening. So
Yeah.
it's really affecting all these guests that are going through the same situation.
Yeah. But I think, we're starting to seeing that there's different technology that is coming out to really streamline the lost and found process. And I definitely think this is something that hotels are very happy to have technology just to automatically do it and not having a dedicated person or a department to being the gatekeeper of bagging and tagging, of writing everything down, logging it. Where now we're seeing with the AI, where a guest can be able to go online and say, I lost the blue short shirt at the hotel and these were my dates, and then the computer is able to seeing, was a blue shirt ever turned in, and then to being able to give that response directly and fast to the guest.
Absolutely. And how this technology, maybe we don't look at it as, how do you get your ROI? Trust me, you get
Yeah.
your ROI, right?
Yeah.
Now, not only you are not having team members invest time in duties like that, but also it eliminates the human error, because
Mhm.
a lot of it is driven by photographs.
Mhm.
So now you have the exact room number and you have the exact. So if somebody keys in the wrong information, just like old school, you would write it down on a little piece of paper, and then the paper goes in a baggie. So now you're using a bag that goes back into the landfill. So yes, you get your ROI, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
process makes absolute sense.
Yeah, and then there's also too, lost in translation. There might be a language barrier from on the guest side, on the staff side, as well, where being able to type things also too helps to making sure that you're knowing exactly what the guest is looking for.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have
Absolutely.
any WTF moments of lost and found?
No, besides the fact that you get the runaround, like you go from one to the next to the next to the next. Yeah, not having the right process in place.
Yeah,
That's my walk the floor type of moment, right?
yeah,
Maybe not a
yeah.
specific example or specific story to it, but knowing that there is no process or protocol that links all the departments together so that you get one answer.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
you? Anything specific?
Yeah, so I'm gonna call myself out, and I did something very bad when I was just starting off at the front desk. But let me tell you, I definitely learned my lesson with that. So, guests had called the front desk because they weren't getting anywhere, and they had said that they left their diamond engagement ring in their room. And so it was turned in, and so I was able to find it. And then I was like, okay, here, we'll ship it through FedEx. No, 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 I want it through regular mail. Let me tell
What?
you, I was probably about 19 at the time. So, like, okay. That's why I'm calling myself out on this WTF moment.
Mhm.
And so went and just put it in an envelope, put the person's address, and gave it to security because that's where the mail would come and go. So
You have me sweating right now.
I know. It all started from a lost and found. So then, of course, the guest calls and says they never got their ring. So then the process then had to go through claims and insurance and
Risk management was loving you at that time.
yes. So definitely went through training because of the young naive person. But then also too, like, the hands that went through, because I told security, who is someone that is older and wiser, and telling them, look, this is a lost and found. The guest told me they just want to put it in an envelope. And then that was also too of the whole process, is because there's the security cameras all right there, because that's where we do bag check anyways. So they see me on camera with the envelope and giving it to security, and then also to that envelope leaving with the postal service. And then the guests, I really think the guests knew what they were doing. They
Mm,
I
is
mean,
that
I'm
so?
gonna
Still doesn't stop me from thinking the process was broken. Number one, because you should have known what the process was, right?
yeah,
Number two, again, there was no communication between the departments because you're mentioning the surveillance guys were on the other side staring at you while you were doing this. No one was saying anything. It
yeah,
didn't even call their attention because they didn't even know what the process was like. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
the more power to my theory that there should be a connection between the departments when it comes to the process, something so important
yeah,
that will affect your guest experience because it's your guests' belongings.
yeah, yeah.
Wedding. Oh my goodness.
And then also too with the explanation. So being like, the reason why we it has to go through, a FedEx or UPS, like a certified, no matter what it is, even if it, is a a blanket that we may think of non-value to something that is value, but no matter what, it always goes through this process, and this is the reason why. So then when the guest is communicating and saying, no, I don't want it that way. And then us, having that confidence over the phone to being like, this is our policy and procedure. It has to go through this process. Because a lot of times, too, the guests expect us to be paying for the postage as well. Could you imagine what that postage cost would look like for a hotel of all the things that they're shipping out from guests not being like, they're losing
In
their stuff.
Yes, and in many operations, that's already budgeted in
Yeah,
because you already
true.
know you're gonna have some amount that goes out, so that's already budgeted in.
Yeah.
Very interesting topic.
Yeah. So calling myself
Yes,
out from when I was a young person just starting off at the front desk and definitely got taken advantage of and learned my lesson. So anytime I had to deal with lost and found, most of the time I was like, oh, sorry, not my job. I don't
your
want to go.
workplace lesson learned with an engagement band. Fantastic. Good job,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Yeah. See, we sometimes we got to call ourselves out too. We're not perfect.
Totally. I love it. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, everyone, for being on the other side. I hope you find this useful. Take some tips with you and create this one process that you can communicate between departments when it comes to lost and found. See you next
Yes.
time.
Thanks, everyone.